Good afternoon. My name is Megan McDermott. I'm the Assistant Vice President for Digital Equity here at the ConnectALL office. So exciting to be able to share today's information with you. We have so many folks who are joining and showing interest in the request for applications for our Digital Equity Program Capacity Grant. We have a lot to get through, so most important, we're going to start by walking through our agenda for the call and what to expect and how to participate. So with that, Rose, I'm going to pass it to you to share a little bit more so you can help folks understand the process and how to participate.
Sure, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Just to let you know, the session is being recorded, and this recording and slides that you're going to be reviewing today will be sent to all participants. It will also be posted on ConnectALL's website. All of the URLs and links that you'll see today will be posted there as well. And we'll be sending them out to you after this meeting. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A function on your screen. The chat will be used only for us to post URLs and information to you. So questions will not be answered during the session. Answers will be posted to ConnectALL's website, and we'll be updating those question and answers on the website at broadband.ny.gov. If you have questions and you don't get to post them in today's Q&A, you can send them to digitalequity@esd.ny.gov. You can send them at any time to that email address. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rose. As part of today's information session, we wanted to take a moment and introduce the ConnectALL office in order to put the request for applications in context. So what's most important to know is that the office was established in 2022 by Governor Hochul under the Wired Act, and very much its goal and mission is to transform the digital infrastructure of New York State. And what that means is so that all residents and businesses have access to high-speed, reliable, and affordable broadband. And also the skills, the literacies, the devices, and the accessibility necessary for full participation. Where we hope to see impact through our mission is on education, economic growth, health and accessibility to services, and ultimately full participation in New York's digital economy and digital life. As you see here, ConnectALL has 5 signature programs. There's Deployment Program, Affordable Housing Connectivity, Connectivity Innovation, and the Municipal Infrastructure Program. Digital equity is also a key pillar, and we understand that really as the social infrastructure side of ConnectALL's work. It's what makes the infrastructure adoptable and meaningful for communities, residents, and New Yorkers. So with that, I want to move to the next slide and share a little bit about today's focus for our $15.5 million request for applications. New York State's digital equity work is really guided by our state digital equity plan. You can find this plan on our website. It is accessible and also in Spanish. And within that plan, which many of you participated and supported with input and direction, we have a set of key strategies. The focus for today for our request for application is on the first strategy. And this is grounding investments in an asset-based approach by funding the digital equity ecosystem to sustainably scale and improve its services and opportunities for residents. So what that means is this funding, for which requests can be at a minimum $250,000 up to a maximum of $2 million. The intent here is really to recognize and support the existing providers, participants, stakeholders across the state, and to innovate and support new ways to engage, improve services, delivery, and critically collaboration. I want to say that ConnectALL, from its planning and its engagement with the field, really recognizes that there are many opportunities in New York State, first and foremost by those who've been building this ecosystem over time. And that our purpose here is to take an asset-based approach so that funding really strengthens, again, the quality, the engagement, the scale, and the value of programming and services for covered populations. Those are target populations from across the state. We also are very invested in collaborations and partnerships, and this is where we want to see the field grow as a whole. So before we dive into the specifics, I'll just say thank you for all that you do to close the digital divide and improve conditions for all New Yorkers. And we really look forward to the opportunity to support you. With that, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Nazir Jeffries, to help us walk through the specifics of the request for application.
Thank you, Megan. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nazir Jeffries, and I am the Digital Equity Program Manager here in the ConnectALL office. And it's great to see so many of you on this call today, showing so much interest in this program. Many of you know me already, and it's a pleasure to meet the new faces in the room. And, you know that this has been a long time coming. I've been with the ConnectALL office for about 1.5 years through the planning phase, and it's really exciting to be at this juncture and move into implementation of that plan through this request for applications. So with that being said, today I'll be presenting an overview of the Digital Equity Program Capacity Grant request for applications. And the request for applications in its entirety is available on our website, and that is broadband.ny.gov. The deadline for responses is March 24th, 2025 at 11:59 p.m. Please take care to submit a complete application before the deadline, and applications received after the deadline will not be reviewed. So I'll begin today by going over the eligibility requirements. Eligible entities must, at a minimum, have a history of serving covered populations in New York State for at least 3 years through the implementation of at least one measurable objective. Entities based outside of New York State are also eligible to apply if they meet this requirement. In addition, applicants must be able to demonstrate that they have the financial and operational capacity to administer the proposed project. If you have stakeholders in your network who meet this eligibility criteria outlined in the RFA, we would appreciate your effort in spreading the word about this funding opportunity. And we've prepared a toolkit with suggested outreach language that can be used in email blasts, newsletters, social media posts, etc. All of this is available on our website, and it's being linked in the chat now for your access. So to continue on, depending on the type of organization applying, as listed here on the screen, your application will require you to provide relevant verification documentation as applicable. For example, a nonprofit organization will be required to provide us with a 501c3 form. Next, I'll review the eligible uses of the funds. So eligible uses include those associated with delivering high-quality programming, for example, personnel costs, equipment and software, regranting to partners, and stakeholder engagement. It's important to note that any costs related to deployment of the broadband or capital project requests, for example, construction of a computer center, are not eligible for this program. And you can see the full list of ineligible and eligible costs on the RFA. Next slide, please. So here you will see the required documentation needed to complete an application. There are templates available on our website where you'll be able to download 1, the applicant and project team details template, and 2, the project costs and milestones template. Once you begin your application, the first section of the portal will ask you to upload your attachments. However, you are able to navigate between the application questions. So if you do not have all your documentation prepared at the time you begin your application, you will be able to come back to that section and add your attachments at a later time. The second section will ask you for basic identifying applicant profile information. If applying as a partnership, ConnectALL will require one entity to fill out this section, but you will be required to list your partners here and in the applicant project team details template as well. Next slide, please. The third section of the application contains questions detailing experience managing a grant at this scale. As a reminder, grants will range from $250,000 to $2 million. Therefore, this is your opportunity to demonstrate capacity to handle a grant of this size or to demonstrate past success in re-granting or subcontracting on projects. The fourth section of the application is where you will detail your project proposal. This is your opportunity to tell us which populations you wish to serve, how your project aligns with the goals of the Digital Equity Plan, and what your desired outcomes of the project are. I encourage applicants to articulate their projects as direct and effective responses to a capacity gap, as targeted, clear, compelling, and achievable, as well as aim to be sustainable and not just to satisfy an immediate gap. And it must also include a willingness to share innovations and opportunities broadly with the digital equity ecosystem. Next slide, please. This takes us into section 5, impact, evaluation, and sustainability. The period of performance for these projects will be 2 years. This section is your opportunity to tell us the impact of your project will have beyond this time frame. How does your project contribute to the DE, digital equity ecosystem overall? How will covered populations be supported by your project? This section emphasizes outcomes rather than barriers. The sixth section is where you will sign and agree to a few terms and conditions of this application. Firstly, acknowledgement of Empire State Development's reimbursement payment structure must be acknowledged. Secondly, all grants issued by Empire State Development require a minimum 10% equity match. You may request a waiver. If so, we ask that you state your intent to apply for a waiver in this section. And lastly, to close and submit the application, an authorizing signature is required. Next slide, please. To help you keep track of your progress, we have created an application checklist, which you will find on our website, listing all the required components to respond to this request for applications. Next slide, please. The links to the 2 templates that I mentioned earlier are also on our website under application information. Depending on the volume of questions that we receive today and through our digital equity inbox, ConnectALL will consider offering a technical assistance webinar to address any questions on those 2 templates. Next slide, please. So the applicant project team template is your opportunity to tell us about the proposed project team and to help us evaluate the full scope of the project. For example, what is each partner's operating budget? What type of programming or services do they provide? And in which geographies and for which covered populations? For project teams, including a digital equity coalition, complete the table with the coalition summarized into a single row. Next slide, please. The second template, the project cost and milestones template, is your opportunity to break down your project budget. On the first tab, you will find document instructions detailing precisely how to complete each requirement. The second tab displays the different cost categories and gives examples of eligible uses of funds under those categories. On the third tab, you will detail your project costs and associated grant funds being requested to cover those costs. This is where you'll also fill out specifics on the equity match or applicant share of the project. Many of the fields are auto-calculated, so please fill in only where required. Lastly, the fourth tab is where you will identify and detail major milestones for project completion, as well as estimate total project cost expenditures for each year of the grant period. Next slide, please. So here are some important dates to take note of while you aim to complete application. The CFA, the Consolidated Funding Application Portal, is currently open, and applications are due, again, on March 24th, 2025 at 11:59 p.m. These dates are all, of course, tentative, as it depends on the volume of applications that we receive. Next slide, please. So following a determination of completeness, ConnectALL will review and score applications based on the criteria you see on the screen here to total up to 100. Letters of support are required for an application to be considered complete, and these may come from a local, county, or tribal government whose jurisdictions overlap with your proposed project, or it may come from a public, private, or nonprofit entity. Next slide, please. So the most important thing to know about the grant disbursement agreement that I had mentioned earlier is that payments will be made on a reimbursement schedule. Each applicant will undergo a financial review to determine financial health and capacity to take on their grant request. The grant disbursement schedule will be determined once an applicant is deemed conditionally eligible and we enter into an incentive proposal process. Next slide, please. Now we'll go into how to apply. So all applications must be submitted through the Consolidated Funding Application Portal. We will not be accepting any applications or attachments via email, but if there is an accessibility concern, please reach out to us and we will discuss what accommodations are available. The CFA portal will send you a confirmation once your application has successfully been submitted. Next slide, please. Once application review is complete, each applicant will receive an email updating them on the status of their application, either approving, rejecting, or requesting more information to complete the review process. Next slide, please. As you can see on the timeline here, we anticipate that incentive proposals will be executed by September. But again, these dates are all tentative as it depends on the number of applications we receive. But the ConnectALL office will be spending, after March 24th, majority of the spring and summertime reviewing and scoring those applications. Next slide, please. So that concludes today's information session. If you have any questions, please use the Zoom Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen, or send us an email at digitalequity@esd.ny.gov. Please ensure to email the Digital Equity inbox, not the ConnectALL inbox, nor me or any other ConnectALL team member directly. To ensure fairness and lessen bias, only questions submitted to the Digital Equity inbox will be answered. So how will we be answering these questions? We will be posting a Q&A document to our website pretty regularly until the close of the application period. So it'll be in your best interest to just keep tabs on our website and you'll see when an updated document has been posted. That being said, I will keep the webinar on for the next 10 to 15 minutes to give you an opportunity to put your questions into the Q&A feature below. If you choose to ask them now, or you can, like I said, always email us. So thank you.